What's up, everybody? I am super excited to be back with Manifest 31, especially for the month of October. I am excited for the fall. So I am just gonna jump right into it, you guys, because I've been waiting for this interview for a while. Because I have been kind of watching this gentleman from afar and just everything that he's been going through. Just seeing how he's been carrying himself, how he's not allowed anything to stop him from continuing to evolve into the person that he is today. And I just couldn't wait for him to be on the show. So I'm gonna, without further ado, go ahead and introduce Mr. Phil Mason.
What's going on? How you doing?
I am amazing. So thank you again for just doing this and being open to just share a part of you with everybody, really. Thank you.
Thank you for having me first, and thank you for creating this platform, to express this feeling or these feelings to like-minded people and people who may not, want to open up yet, but need a little encouragement a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little push.
Just a little pressure. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Awesome. So I'm not gonna hold it up. We're gonna dive right into it. The title of this was Still Standing, and I got some good questions, y'all. And we're gonna kind of tap into them right now. But one thing I ask everybody that comes on the show is, what does manifestation mean to you? As we know, Manifest 31 is the name of this, but I like to get different perspectives of what manifestation means to people. So how about you? What does it mean?
Pretty much to me, it just means creating your identity. Rather, you can have a definitive answer for it, like a definitive idea. I'm this person, I'm that person. Manifestation, I feel like you can build yourself to whatever image you think of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it allows you to have that creative space in your mind where I can do this, I can be this excellent drawer. And you might not go the path that traditionally people, whether you go, but the fact that you can manifest that dream yourself, you can get there however you get there. It doesn't have to be a set thing. So it's like, I view it as you creating your own identity for your own path, however that may be.
Okay. I like that. I like how you said that it's creating your own path, and it doesn't have to necessarily be what somebody else had for you, or what if somebody else's vision. It's your vision for yourself. No. And I think that's powerful. Okay, so who is Phil Mason?
Just a Black man, just a regular old Black guy, nothing special. Nah, I mean, I'm a son, uncle, brother, nephew. I mean, I'm a regular person dealing with regular stuff, but I try to handle it not in a regular way, just because looking at how a lot of people handle stuff, like you're supposed to do it this way, supposed to do it that way. That's not me. I like to do my own kind of
Okay.
From personality, fashion, whatever. I like to do whatever fits me at the moment. So I'm whatever I am in the moment, whatever I feel in the moment.
Okay. So just gonna summarize that, kind of go back a little bit. And what I pull from that is, Phil, besides being a brother, uncle, a son, a friend, you are yourself. You get to identify how you want to be, how you handle things, and how you go about things. And it may be different from how everybody else does it, but it fits for you.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I like that.
Okay, cool. Okay, so one thing that stood out to me was the fact that you said don't do things in a regular way, and don't handle situations in a regular way. And one of the things when we were talking previously, I brought up the fact that we named this Still Standing. And that's I think it's a very strong statement to say still standing. And sometimes it's like a question mark at the end of that. Still standing from what? Still standing through what? What have you been through? So could you kind of express anything that you have been through maybe in the last couple of years that have truly impacted you mentally, physically, and emotionally that at some point you didn't think you would still be standing?
Well, I hate to point out the current obvious of the world of everything, but you know, the pandemic, it took a lot from me physically, family wise, it took a lot. Uh, Spiritually, it took a lot too. Like from being sick to my father getting it and then passing away, my grandmother, aunties, uncles, my nieces, nephews, everybody around me was getting it, and it just kind of, it seemed like pressure and just pain and turmoil was kind of surrounding a little bit, because it's like you're so used to things being a certain way, and then in an instant you don't have control over what you do when you wake up. You don't know your who you're going to see next, who you're not going to see next. So during this whole, year and a half, I've kind of, death pretty much was the center focus of the last year. I mean, not to be funny, but I look at it a little differently now that I've gone through it. So it gives me a little bit of sense of humor kind of behind it. I can find some light humor in it, but that's part of what I lost. I gained that back. Like, that was a part of me that I didn't think I was going to get back because of us going through that. You don't want to make light of stuff like that, but that's just what I learned from what I lost.
I think that's powerful. What you said was, and I keep saying powerful because you are throwing gems, and I'm trying to catch them all because they definitely are hitting. But you gain something through a loss, and kind of having to find yourself. And I really extend my deepest condolences, because it's not easy to lose a parent and to have death just surrounding you in so many different ways, on top of, like you said, having COVID and different family members having COVID. So I extend my condolences and just commend you for your strength and being able to find that laughter again, to find that space. That takes a lot. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more how it impacted you mentally? Are okay with kind of telling us that?
Yeah. I can honestly say that I was, in the early set of it, I was I was lost. I literally was lost. And like, losing my father, it seemed like that was a constant that I always had. Like, no matter what I did, good, bad, great, whatever, I knew for a fact I had my dad either egging me on or clowning the heck out of me. Like, I knew what was going to happen. But going through that, and like, how we had to go through it with being separated and not being able to see him or be around him or anything like that, and knowing that he kind of, went through the stuff by himself. In the beginning, it kind of hit me like my father was terrified of dying, but he understood the path of dying.
Mm-hmm.
He was more scared of leaving us behind rather than going to see what was next. He didn't want to leave because he didn't want to leave us hanging. He didn't want to leave us in the dark or confused. But he was more so in tune with what was next. Like, he knew his mother was next. He knew he was going to be with his brothers, sisters, family that he lost, friends. He knew he was going to be somewhat home. And everybody, has their own differentiation of what home is, heaven, and stuff like that. But he found a new sense of it as he got older, and it kind of rubbed off on me, but I didn't pick up on it until well after he was gone. And it took a lot out of me, like my sense of humor, my interest in just trying to be social. Of course, being socially distant from people didn't help either, but
Mm-hmm.
I just was drained emotionally, because it felt like, what else could you lose? But in the process of trying to regather my thoughts, or even trying to recenter myself, I had to realize I can't do that. I have to create a whole new self. It doesn't mean it has to be completely different from what I was, but I have to understand that that emotional gap is going to be there. So I have to make a stronger foundation for me to be able to hold that gap. So I found different things to help me kind of cope. Since we couldn't, go to gyms, I loved to play basketball, work out, couldn't do any of that. So I started praying a little bit more. I was always into meditation, but that helped me a lot being, by myself as I relocated. Just, I had to find new things that I was aware of, but I didn't know how in depth they could really help me.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the two things that I can attribute most to me getting a new sense of myself would have to be therapy and the people around me. Like, I didn't talk to a lot of people for a while, but when I was comfortable talking, I mean, everybody was kind of like willing to give an ear, willing to just let me vent, let me just talk about anything other than that, just to keep me up in spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate those people and therapy a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so every time you speak, it's just something else. Okay, God, I'm gonna back it up just a little bit, because every time you speak, I'm like, all right, he throwing them again. He throwing them.
Too much.
But from your father, it sounds like just everything going through that period of time, because even though some of the restrictions and things have changed now, and people are kind of moving in a different space, it was a time where you couldn't see a loved one if they were in the hospital, or you couldn't reach out to them. They had to go through that alone. And that had to be truly hard to experience, and then to also get to this point of going through grief too, how to process grief. And I think one thing that you stated was when you relocated, and we can kind of go in depth about that a little bit more, but you learn how to meditate and find new ways to deal with certain things. And I really want to point out the fact that you said you acknowledged the fact that you had to change. Like, you weren't going to be the same person. There was going to be this gap there. There was going to be this emotions that you were feeling, but you had a choice to make. And that choice was to either sit in it and dwell in it, or make the decision to move, not necessarily forward where you forgot, but move forward where you were able to start the healing journey, which healing is a journey that never ends. But you had to make that decision. And I think that really stands out to me, because you had to acknowledge the fact that things will never go back to being the same.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with anything, whether it's, accepting grief, and of course, I'm no, therapist, not like that, but just in dealing with your own situations, I feel like you have to acknowledge, if you acknowledge the positive, you have to acknowledge the negative. Mm-hmm. And you can't process everything unless you acknowledge every aspect of it as much as you can. And with death, we kind of focus on the negative every single time instead of trying to find a positive in it. Of course, we never want to lose our loved ones. We never want to lose ourselves. But at the same time, whether your faith is in heaven, hell, reincarnation, nothing, whatever you have faith in, you have to acknowledge both sides of it. Mm-hmm. And losing my dad, the instant focus was just straight negative. Nothing, like, there's nothing. There's no certainty. There's no guarantee. It made me acknowledge my own human weakness in a whole. Like, that's been my biggest fear, was death. Like, worrying about death, worrying when, how, what, when I'm leaving, what's after. And in going through that, I looked at how my dad lived up until that point, and it was like, he celebrated his birthday like 6 months before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. His first birthday party, never had a birthday party. Like, that was something, like, looking at that and seeing how happy he was and how everybody came to show him love from his family, church, friends. It's like, you see it and I'm like, all right, this is some beautiful stuff. And I looked I looked at that and was like, yo, he was happy just being happy. Like he wasn't worried about his health, you know, life itself, age. He was just happy in the moment. That was the happiest I've seen him. And I kind of had to use that for myself. Like I had to go back to memories before that, even after when I would find myself doing stuff on a regular, I'm just smiling in general. I was stopping like, yo, you should feel guilty for feeling, you know, happy, but you shouldn't, because he wouldn't want you to be sad. He wouldn't want you to be upset, depressed, nothing like that. So I kind of went into a deep state of just sunkenness, like just leave me alone. I don't want to be around people, don't want to talk, don't want to eat, don't want to sleep. Just leave me in my corner. Just leave me alone. And I got the opportunity to relocate through my old job to Louisville. And I've never been to Louisville, don't know anything about Louisville. At that point, my mind was just in a cloud. But something, it just clicked in my head when I got it, like, you know what, you got to do it. You got to go. I know it's the middle of a pandemic. I know you just lost your pops. I know you're going by yourself or you don't know nobody, but something's telling me to get up and go. And I packed my car, found a crib, and I hit the road. And when I got there, it was terrifying. Terrifying. But I don't know what it was specifically, but I just felt a sense of calm in being by myself. I was able to focus literally on how I felt. What made me feel this way? What things can I say to make me feel better? What things can I do to make me feel better? And regular stuff wasn't working. I don't drink alcohol for the most part, so that wasn't a crutch for me. You know, marijuana, yeah, that was a crutch to a certain degree, but after a while, after being kind of caught in that haze, you kind of gotta feel for yourself. And it wasn't allowing me to feel for myself. So I started meditating a little bit more. I started sitting in silence and kind of focusing on my breathing. And I just garnered a different peace in being out there. Like, it just seemed so serene, just knowing that it was me. Like, I had a hand guiding me the whole way, and now it's like, all right, go. Okay. And it just felt free.
So, you know, here you go, these gems again. I be trying to pick them up, like, I be trying to get them. But out of everything that you just said, I kind of want to just dive into the fact that sometimes we look at isolation as don't do it. Like, you don't go into isolation, don't do that. Make sure you are, you know, more around people and the people that you love. But listening to you, we hear that isolation, it allows you to focus. And it wasn't necessarily like you wasn't around people or you wasn't talking to anybody completely, but you needed to take a moment for you. And it wasn't in any type of like, it's all about me, but it's sometimes you have to be selfish and put yourself first so you can process those emotions, so you can know how to interact in those relationships, or at least tell people what you need.
Right. Most definitely. I mean, I'm not a loner completely, but I do have loner traits. But I do believe that you can't focus on what you need to do best if you can't just straight focus. And that takes some form of isolation. Whether you isolating yourself from people or you're isolating what you want to do from everything else that you're doing. Like, you have to separate, you have to have some type of isolation involved. And I just chose to isolate myself because it was easier for me to take myself from here and what surrounded me with everything that I knew and loved to somewhere foreign where I don't have that attachment. So I can focus on what I'm actually feeling inside of me and what's affecting me around me. So when I come back, I can have a better understanding and a better hold of myself so I can handle a little bit more. I can process a little bit better, maybe a little bit faster. Now, I don't know what my emotions would be in the next case of losing someone, of course, close to me, but I would like to assume that I've gotten to a point where I might not be able to handle it, where I can just walk around with a smile on my face all day, but I won't need to go to those extremes anymore for me to handle, such grief or just anything, any situation of that dire straits. Like I can just take it as well as I can, and whether I win or lose with it, I'm cool with the results.
Okay. Come on with the knowledge and dropping these gems. I wasn't ready for it at all. Okay.
Shucks.
Just taking everything that you had to learn through this experience the last couple years, and again, kind of bringing it back full circle to this title of Still Standing. What does that mean to you to still be standing?
It's an accomplishment for myself, because in that moment you literally don't know. Like you just having every day, 30 years of your life, 31 years of your life, and then suddenly one of the biggest pieces of those 30 years of you being alive is gone. So you kind of feel like there is nothing for me to do, nothing for me to strive for, in a sense of it's going to leave me anyway. So why would I even try?
Mm-hmm.
But sitting here today, I look back and I kind of laugh a little bit, like, yo, you were going through it, understandably, but still, like, yo, you were bugging. Like, dude, you didn't shave, you didn't get a haircut. What was wrong with, like, I really had to, like, I just look back at it and it's like, yo, we really came a long way from feeling like nothing to, at least being able to stand again, like feeling confident and walking out and just being open with people and being open and sharing and feeling for people again. It's still a long road, I think, of course, but being able to say that I made it through what at the time, the hardest thing I could possibly think of, it just kind of, I don't want to say prepared me for it, what could come next, but it gives me an idea that, okay, if you feel like that's the worst that could happen, you should be able to handle, the next thing that you feel like is the worst thing that could happen to you. Like, I hate the cliche, but what doesn't kill you make you stronger. There's a little bit of truth to it. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
it
bit.
makes me think about this saying that someone had said to me before, was that you have already made it through 100% of your worst days. Like you have already made it through it.
I like that.
And I am just excited to hear that from you, that you are proud of yourself and of that accomplishment. That it's not necessarily an accomplishment, but it's the fact that you allowed yourself to not give up.
Yeah, I wouldn't label it an accomplishment, because that's something we're supposed to do just in general. I think as humans, you're supposed to persevere through as much adversity as you can, so the next can go even further with adversity, because it's going to be worse and worse as time goes, but it's always going to be better and better and better. So you take the good with the bad with it. And I'm just honestly taking it one day where it's like, some days I might feel like I don't really have the energy to be around people, but I put the effort to make sure that I get through that. Like, I make sure that I don't just allow myself to get stuck in that hole. Before, I would just say, oh yeah, whatever, cool, I'll take it. But, like I said, talking to my therapist and talking to a few family and friends, like, just not even about what I was going through, just in general conversation, it turned into healing of some sort. Just being able to communicate. And I just appreciate being able to put myself in that position to get better and allow people in to help me get better. Because we don't do that enough as Black men or men in general, but we don't we don't allow people in. So it's kind of, for me to feel the need to do so and actually do so and it not be the person that I normally will let in, it feels, it's not an accomplishment, but it feels like an accomplishment. Like it's a burden kind of sort of lift off.
Okay. So being able, you didn't have to hold that in anymore. All those things that you were holding in, you were able to let go.
Somewhat. I'm getting there. Getting there. It's a work in progress. I've gotten a lot further, but I do feel better going that route. When before I wouldn't even think about touching it.
So as we wrap this up and we kind of bring it to a close, I just really ask you, like, what encouragement do you have, not just for men, because I think you spoke on some topics that cross everyone, really. Rather it's grief, rather it's healing, rather is taking time to put yourself first. I think you really cross a lot of different topics. What encouragement do you have for someone else that might be going through a season? They don't know how they're going to still be standing. Then pretty much not even the next day, the next moment. What encouragement do you have for someone else?
Wow.
Y'all know I be asking these questions. I be trying to pre-warn y'all. They coming.
Well, because I mean, when you hear that question, you got to keep in mind that, everybody flows different. Everybody's energy cycle is a little different. So they might not get to the destination that you got to, not even the same way, just in time in general. They might not get there in this lifetime. It could be the next lifetime. But the fact that you put the effort into trying to get there, I feel like the best encouragement I could offer is, don't be scared to feel that fear. Don't be scared to feel that uncertainty, because you go your hardest when you don't know. Like, when you don't know what you're going to do, your body, your mind, your spirit, everything just takes over naturally. You just do it. You just adapt. Like you just have to. You're survivors. As humans, we are here to survive. You naturally you have to give into that impulse and do. It might not be the best thing all the time, but it's the start. It's the step you're taking. It might not be a step that is beneficial for people around you, but it's a step. Just take that step. Don't be scared to take that step, whether you win or lose, fail, succeed, whatever. Just take that step. You will feel so much better if you take that step. Therapy, consulting and friends, family, meditation, religion, prayer, exercise, reading, drawing, writing, photography, dog walking, fish tanking, scuba diving, skydiving, whatever you just feel the need, just walking in the park. Just take that step. Try to get yourself out of that I don't know about tomorrow, and just take that step. Take a step into tomorrow. You'll be surprised.
What? Man, I don't even got a whole life, so I just walk into it. So I like
You silly. You are truly too silly.
No, all seriousness, I am just amazed by the person that you are and the words of encouragement that you just gave. And I think that, let alone, is strength in its entirety, is that by taking that next step, whatever that step may be, it means so much to that person. It's not about anybody else around you, it's about you. And that's so important. So I'm gonna leave it at there, because I don't know about y'all, but he been dropping gems this whole time, man. Like, what?
All love, man. All love.
Well, I am super, super grateful again for you to open up, be vulnerable, and just share a part of you, share your testimony. And again, just sending you positive vibes, positive energy, and just continue to take those steps.
I appreciate you for having me, and I appreciate you for offering me a chance to express myself to a certain degree. And please continue to do this. And I hope people are really paying attention to what you're doing, because you really are offering people something that it just helps. Like, just venting helps. Even if they don't think it's gonna help, it helps. And this is most definitely a help.
I definitely received that. I do. Well, until next time. Bye.
Peace.